Hi everyone, welcome back to the Spooky Island YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be covering the episode 9 of the Juvenile Justice show on Netflix. Again, from last episode we kind of got something quite massive near the end of the episode where we saw kind of the judge pass out. Again, this could be down to stress, but again, what we saw, which I think makes it pretty clear that there's something bigger, and to the point as well, she kind of recognised someone on that kind of case file, which again made her kind of pass out. Again, this is pretty big, I think, for this whole series. I think because again we've been getting a lot of different kind of flashbacks from her throughout this show. We've had a little bit of a look in to see what we're kind of dealing with, and from kind of what I could say, it's maybe to do with a case which maybe didn't go to plan, which is obviously linked back to the judge. Again, so far I'm really am enjoying this show. To the extent, obviously, again, these are true events, and again, it's not like any other drama. It's not really something I'd probably count as a drama, again, because it's so real. But it is really sometimes quite interesting to see what goes on, and yeah, very upsetting too. Again, the last episode was really upsetting and kind of difficult to get through, because again, the case didn't really end in the way I kind of expected it to. Again, most cases in this show had like an end, but this one didn't. But to be fair, with all the again other punishments which were given on the other cases, I can't be like someone who again fully agree with them. I think some of the sentences should be longer, especially for like assault. And again, to me it's something which should be deemed as something a lot more. And again, that was to do with obviously the dad of one of the teens, and again it had the victim in that case as the kind of young teenager and being the one who would be counted as the juvenile system, and obviously then it was dealing with an adult who was the offender. But again, from the last case, again you had a bunch of teens, and again it was quite frustrating what I gathered when I was watching, because again they just weren't taking the matter serious. They didn't really understand what they did until maybe then at the end where the judge kind of had the last say. But really they had to take more responsibility for what they also had to do with the case as well. You can't just put the full responsibility on the driver, and that was the teen who came from the detention centre. But yeah, moving on to this, again we kind of saw obviously the idea of what the case was. I think it's to do with obviously a rape case, which I think for me is going to be very difficult for me to get through. I think out of all kind of the cases, is probably the worst one for me to kind of view. It really does kind of make me kind of uncomfortable, and yeah, it does really frustrate me like stuff like this goes on. But again, I will do my best to keep level-headed throughout this. But yeah, let's just get straight into episode 9. Here we go. That's the thing, as a judge, your head is always racing, and I can imagine, again, for her and in the place she is, something like this is probably quite a regular thing, even, especially if it's not noticed, especially from herself as a judge. Sometimes you need to take a breather and split yourself away from these situations where you're constantly stressed. And I think that for her, this thing where she saw the file was the thing that put her over, and beyond that point.
번아웃이라고 들어보셨죠? 탈진으로 몸이 방전됐어요. 영양 불균형에 수면 부족, 과도한 스트레스로 수치도 엉망이고 스스로를 혹사시켜서 몸이 버티지 못했습니다. 이 결과로는 오늘 당장 퇴원은 어렵고요. 하루 이틀 입원하시면서 결과 지켜볼게요.
So I think they got that's where I'm going back to the point of the sacrifice from this job. And you're noticing this from obviously a viewpoint. You're seeing them sacrifice themselves and even their body. As we say, their well-being should be also a big responsibility and priority, especially. It's sad because I'm going back to the last episode. You kind of got the We got to see her kind of apartment, and all there was really was stacked up files, which again, some are in boxes, which I think we've been shown a couple of times now, which I think has something to do with obviously that case. And tons of bottle of water we saw. And again, I think the only time we get to see her kind of doing her own thing was when she goes for a jog, and I think most of the time it's in the night. So again, for time, it's just like there's no time. She's constantly having to think. You generally get to the point where you really do feel sorry for a lot of the people. It's not just her as well. You've got to think about the other people doing the same jobs out there and around in the police force, and that they're always using their energy. And again, it's not just energy in the way of your like body energy and nutrients. It's like they've said maybe in the hospital, but it's also that mental energy as well. He's a really good guy, that guy, because again, it's good that they're having each other's backs in their job, and again, that's something you really want. It's the people that again has your back and can someone you can kind of support you and almost you can lean on. And that guy is, I really do respect him, because again, if someone wasn't there like that and supporting her like this, it could be even worse for her to kind of go through what she is. And I think just the little things, I think what he does is really helpful, I think.
몇 가지 질문 뒤에 바로 순찰 걸 테니 너무 염려 마시고요. 따님의 마지막 인상착이요.
이제 가자. 아 잠깐만 나 진짜 오랜만이야.
선아야, 제가 저기
And he must be worried sick,
화물을 오는데 제가
especially if they don't come home, and I think this is the case.
갔다 오면은 제가 며칠씩 집을 비우거든요. 혼자 키우다 보니까 제가 그럼 따님하고 마지막 연락은 언제 하셨습니까? 학교 외에 자주 다니는 곳이나 친한 친구는요? 분명 오늘 학교는 갔다는 거죠, 선생님? 예. 경찰에 신고는 했고요. 아버님.
As a single parent as well, he must feel so much responsibility, and again, all of it goes down to him. I couldn't even imagine if, for example, your daughter or son didn't come home one night. Oh no.
여기 사람이 지금 쓰러져 있는데요.
피고인은 만 16세, 17세의 미성년자예요.
애한테 술을 그렇게 먹였는데 어떻게 합니까? 분명히 그 자리에 한 명이 더 있었답니다.
전아야, 천천히 잘 생각해봐봐. 피해자 진술이 일관되지 않은 너한테 불리해질 수 있어.
저 공사장 안에 들어가지도 않았는데. 안 그래? 그 형제 말린 게 저예요. 저 진짜 말렸다니까요.
실제 국가수 DNA 대조 결과 성폭행이
Just
주장에 신빙성이 더해져서
can't comprehend
송치됐고요.
any of this, that there's people out there like that. The fact of again forcing her just really irritates me. The fact they would do that
해당 경찰서가 조사를 차일피해 미뤄
to then try and take advantage over someone
변호사로 넘어와서 긴박하게 수사가 된 걸로 그렇게 알고 있습니다.
without consent. And then you go back to the impacts again. It's like I feel like every way we've seen so far with all these cases, again you see constant amount of impacts. Again, we don't maybe see their long-term impact. We see obviously the issue and we see how it affects them short-term, but the long-term effect, it could end up being even worse. And I think even going through something like going through just being the fact of being in court is something, and being a victim is to experience going into that, and something which you shouldn't be being having to go through. It's shocking, and you could just imagine the amount of impact that would have on them.
생각해보니까 저도 판사님에 대해서 아는 게 하나도 없더라고요.
없어. 가족 같은
내가 버렸거든.
It's difficult because you hear cases like this, and then it's kind of then hard to trust people. I think after if you go through something like this, especially as well, you got to be so careful nowadays in like clubs and that, because you never know. And that's why I always say is you should never leave something like a drink behind or anything, because you never know, someone could spike that and then try and take advantage. And it's horrible to think like that. Like there's people out there, but by this case, it's showing that there is.
같은 법원이 아니라 잘은 모르겠지만 그때 무슨 사고가 있었더라고. 그 사고로 남편이랑 이혼까지 했다더라.
이혼이요?
그래. 남편도 현직 검사라고 들었어.
That's the thing. Like, sister, the punishment here has to be
현재 피해자 상태는 어떻습니까?
something
이 피해자가
beyond anything that so far what I've seen the juvenile justice system could do. Again, it's something which you go back to the like first case. Even it's something to me which you can't put a time on, because the damage which has been done here.
그것 때문에 SNS나 문자로 2차 피해까지 당하고 있는 판에
아니 학교에서도 피해자한테 자퇴를 종용했답니다. 그래가지고 결국
가기에 앞서 이번 사건은 사회적으로도 관심이 높은 사건이기 때문에 집중해서 신속하게 진행하도록 하겠습니다. 이제 재판을 시작하겠습니다. 검찰 측 증거 신청하십시오.
네.
And these are the defenders. It's got bright hair.
변호인분들이
Touching the mic already. Like, what's that? It's just, to me, these are going to probably be showing something very similar to the other group of teenagers, disrespect to the system. I think they're more, again, they probably have a hell of an ego, and again, they probably know the punishment's not going to be anything for them to worry. You almost got to make something to make them fear, and again, it shouldn't be something which even crosses their mind to do what they just did to any person of any age.
좌배석보다는 우배석이 주심을 맞는 게 맞지 않나 싶은데 어떻게 생각해요?
아,
So what can you do for them type of people? Like, I have to give again just for the situation to keep a calm head.
재판사는 보호 사건 재판사한테 넘겨요.
So I think many times in this show it's pushed me, my emotions a lot, to the point of maybe again I could maybe lose a little bit control over what's going on,
부장님 위원회 일정 가지시죠.
because it is disgusting. It is disgusting what we're seeing here,
황인준 재판사가 맡아. 나 분명히 말했어요.
잠시만요, 부장님.
and I'm guessing we haven't heard nowhere near as much as what we're probably going to hear about this case in this episode.
보호 사건 재판 신경 쓸 거 없어. 그 사건 내가 맡아. 부장님은 내가 다시 설득할게.
솔직히 이 사건 판사님이 맡으셔도 저는 상관은 없는데 부쩍 이 사건에 예민하신 것 같아서요.
예민한 거 없어. 사건은 다 같은 사건이지.
For a judge's perspective as well, like you can imagine again I'm just having like an opinion and all this, and I'm just kind of viewing it and how they're feeling. I don't know how they feel, so I don't know what they're doing, but you must get to a point where you kind of feel numb of emotions, and again, because the amount you see, nothing would surprise you. And I guess it's horrible because you don't want to be in a position where you're thinking again it's a case and you're just moving on. You need to have a connection to a degree to produce something again which would give justice, and not something which isn't like some of the judges which I've seen. It's just about speed and getting it done. You need to have a connection and to feel what's happened and understand what's happened. What are you doing?
담당 판사가
소년 사건은 속도전이다. 그 가치관 아직 유효합니까?
난 소년 사건은 속도전이라고 생각해요. 지금 우리 부서에만 밀려있는 미제가 몇 건인 줄 압니까?
그렇다면 황인준 보호 사건 저한테 재배당해 주십시오.
싫은데? 내가 전에 말하지 않았어요? 배석이 멍청한 건 참아도 건방 떠는 건 못 참는다고. 네가 부장이야?
초법 소년이니까 기회로 줬던 처분이 부메랑처럼 돌아온 걸까봐. 아, 법 참 쉽네. 우습게 여긴 걸까봐. 그래서 그렇게 악착같이 드시려는 거죠? 이 사건.
Someone needs to teach them a lesson.
그런데 그것도
But that's the question is can the
낮은 처벌을
juvenile
받으시는
system
게 어렵겠지 하는
offer that type of punishment which they deserve?
이번 집단 성폭
먼저 걔가 자빠져 주시니까 우리 그런 말 할 필요도 없었고.
그거는 합의가 아니잖아.
아, 합의.
Seriously? Oh my god.
우리가 처음엔 거기서 하려고 그랬는데 거기서 하면 너무 뭐가 없으니까 앞이든 뒤든 사람들이 나타날 수 있으니까 그래서 공사장 안으로 들어가서 하려고 그랬죠.
They better not make like an excuse if they're on obviously alcohol. It's not a bigger sentence because this is ridiculous. It's no excuse. What the audacity what we have here. God, I can't believe the dad's holding back. I just
가위바위보에서 순서 정하고 형들이 먼저 하시고 그 다음에 내가 하려고 그랬거든요. 준비 잘했는데 옷도 벗고
he wants him though to do that because obviously the recording, of course, he's trying to be all smug about it, isn't he?
술 취해서 그런 거야? 자지가 안 서는 거예요. 미친다. 아니 진짜라니까요? 아니 씨발 앞에서는 형들이 존나 받고 싸고 다 해야 되는데 아니 난 자지가 안 서니까 씨발 박지를 못하네. 너 이게 장난이야? 무서워. 아씨 그런 분 알아요? 아니 딸년이라 잘 모르려나? 장난이야 이 새끼야. 똑바로 말해. 말해 이 개새끼야. 장난이야 이게. 장난이야.
I don't,
아니 어떻게 이게
what a horrible person. I can't have anything against the dad from doing that again.
밤을 위한 자백이니까
What an evil person as well to just
문을 못
set that situation up like that, to almost force him to do that again for someone again who's very vulnerable right now because of the situation.
아버지를 대신해서
So his emotions are not there. It just shows again, like even he said, the dad knows again it's something they're not taking serious. They're not scared of anything. They're not scared of the punishment.
저 자백 자체가 계획적이었거나 진짜 무서울 게 없거나
She needs this judge needs this case. Even though again she has that emotional side towards this case,
과실
this isn't a case which will work if it's done quickly with speed. It's not going to work.
경찰도 법원
This case needs the time and effort and to get all the evidence required to get a really big sentence.
증거 효력이 없다지만 이건 형사 사건과 함께 검토를 해봐야겠네요.
And we just seen
5년
things here of multiple offences,
법정에 섰을 때
just multiple times, and they've gotten away with it.
그때
Shouldn't be a thing.
소년이 피해자에게 얼마나
Because if they can get away with it once, they'll do it again and again and
그
again.
삶을 얼마나 망가뜨렸는지.
And these are the type of people who I'd put under the bracket of people who just won't change.
그래서
They won't change. There's no room for them to change. And I personally wouldn't give them the time for them to change, because it's ridiculous. And I'm normally someone who's very forgiving. That's the one thing I would not forgive.
소년 사건은 속도전이다. 그 뜻은
And they're not.
사건을 키워서 시끄럽게 만드는 게 아니라 신속하고 조용하게 해결하라는 얘기입니다. 해봐요 어디. 어떻게 처분할지 내가 다 궁금하네. 난 수석부장실에.
That's the thing when I see this type of judge. Like, is that really a conversation you would have? Is about getting this case done really quickly and quietly, like it's nothing, like it's just another case. It's just completely, to me, just a really, really wrong thing to talk about. I think it's not something you go around talking about when you're in that type of job. Every case is important, and it's just, especially something like this as well. It's another thing which is really upsetting to see.
아버님, 할인이 집 나간 지 얼마나 됐어요?
네?
지금부터 아버님 하시는 대답이 가장 중요합니다. 이게 숨긴다고 해결될 문제가 아니에요.
2달 정도. 할인이가 초등학교 때 애엄마하고 집을 나갔어요. 그때 저라도 돌봐줬어야 되는데 저도 힘들어서 맨날 술만 사고치고 불려다닐 때 그냥 저 망할 년이 지 애를 꼭 닮아가지고 원망만 했지. 해준 게 하나도 없더라고요.
예,
But-
아버님 조금
So the situation here is like, again, he has a daughter here,
찾아도 찾을 수가 없었어요.
which again reminds
그러다가
him of his wife. But at the end of the day, this is the problem that we have when the start of something going wrong like this, to cause them to do something like that. 2 months as well, run up.
정말 한 번만 서체해 주시면 정말 다 할게요. 제가 강원도에 제 동생이 있는데 글로 이사해서
할인이의 경우에는 이번에 또 가출하게 되면 다시 찾기 힘들 거예요. 오히려 소년분리심사원에 가서 다친 데는 없는지 검사도 좀 받고 전문가분들한테 상담도 좀 받고 하는
But inside, he's probably hurting again. Maybe at the time, again, he maybe might not treat her right.
돈을
But maybe, again, I'm not saying this is fully true, but from maybe a view I can have here,
이런
of
것도
maybe now the fact that she might not be there hurts him even more. Because again, maybe that again is really the only thing left. Maybe what he remembers of his obviously wife, which ran away. That pain, obviously, for the husband.
담당 판사가 웬 거야? 법관이 피고인 또는 피해자의 친족 관계가 있었던 자일 때 사건의 직무 집행에서 배제된다. 너 그거 법관 제적 사유야.
내가 무슨 사건을 맡건 네가 왜 이제 와서 무슨 상관 있는데?
내가 왜 상관이 없어? 나도 찬이 아빠인데.
because you can understand. Well, you can't fully understand, but you can understand where she's coming from.
황인준, 내가 어떻게 처분하는지.
And that's what we were missing. I thought it was something to do with someone close. And again, when she said she had no family, I think that was something obviously which she's holding in as a person. I think she's not really letting it out to anyone. Again, for this case, again, I guess it's something which is completely different to the other situation we had with obviously the chairman and his son when he got linked in with the leaking papers. This is something obviously which, again, they say it's not revenge, but it's that revenge which we want to see because we know how bad the culprit is and how he's been getting away with stuff, and something like this may have to be done in a situation like this to get justice. Oh no. You have questions of why would they even think about throwing bricks down from the roof. It's like, where's their parents? Well, to have thoughts and feelings like that? There's something wrong from there, and just no one's helping her. It's like they're just all driving by. Everyone's just walking by like they're normal. It's like just nothing's happening. It's horrible. You'd hope there's people out there who would help her. You could see she's in the middle of the road crying and no one's stopping. Like, again, she's in danger right now and she's in the middle of the road. And just to think as well that the offenders in this situation have got to the point where they were young, threw a brick, to then turn out something which again isn't for the better and worse because of the fact they didn't get punished back then. And again, they're being young. It's like at that age you don't think about doing that. I'm sorry, but as a kid I was worried about swings and slides and stuff. It's ridiculous. Just a sense of no responsibility again from them even being that young to even think about just throwing a brick, which is a hard object which could hurt someone. It's just now to the point of what they're doing now with the sexual assault. And again, you think back, if something did happen back then and they got punishment, would they still be like that or would they be changed? And I can't say either because it depends.
위조된 주민등록증으로 편의점에서 술 구매하고 피해자에게 이 술 다 마시기 전엔 집에 못 간다. 내 말 안 들으면 SNS에 나랑 잤다고 퍼뜨리고 학교에도 소문내겠다. 격박했네. 반성했니?
이번 사건은
힘의 권력 관계로 벌어진 사건입니다. 시설에서 만났던 서동균, 오경수는
bullied into it.
소녀의
I just
등을 명령하였고, 명령을 거스를 경우
so we'd do that and not take a beating.
이번 사건 역시 형들의 강요로
I'd never be forced to do that.
소녀는 깊은 반성을 하고 있습니다.
I'd just take the beating.
정말 형들이 무서워서 그랬던 거야?
근데
뒤에 황인준 보호자시죠? 정말 모르셨습니까?
죄송합니다. 모두 제 잘못입니다.
It's like a thing which they've rehearsed.
네.
It's like
알겠습니다.
she's probably so used to it. The Guardian, that's what she says all the time. And then it's just,
다음 기회를 다시 잡을
it has agitated me, I can't lie.
처분을 할지 결정하죠.
Very much so, seeing this. And now he's got a little sister. And then you have a lawyer there as well, and she probably knows he's guilty. And
궁금한 게 있어요.
just that way of just having to protect someone like that, it's just, I just couldn't do it.
늘 그렇게 충성했었는데 어떻게 이번엔 거절할 수 있었니?
형들의 강요와 폭행이 두려운 것은 사실이나
말도 안 되니까. 성폭행은 어떻게 사람이 사람한테 그런 짓을 해요?
법정에서 거짓말하면 어떻게 되는지 잘 알고 있지.
This is how he feels like he'll get away with it. If it was a speedy case, something which was done quickly, like some of the other judges may have approached this case with, to clear it up quick, I think it would work. But for her, it's not going to work.
네,
네가 형들을 직접 말렸고
네.
There must be something here. She doesn't want to drink. Dashcam footage.
보충 수사 결과 공사장 인근에 주차되어 있던 차량의 블랙박스 영상을 추가로 제출합니다.
That's also a thing which I've noticed as well when I see a lot of other Korean police law shows. They have a lot of dash cam footage. We don't really have that much over here. There's not many people who have dash cams, but it seems like it's a thing quite popular over there.
사건 당시 공사장 인근에 주차되어 블랙박스가 녹화되었으나
And it's pretty big because sometimes a lot of crimes are
제외됐었습니다.
found out and done by dash cam footage, and you can, again, this is coming handy in its situation. She doesn't want any more.
해당 블랙박스는 조작된 영상일 수도 있습니다.
Oh, shut up.
가수 영상 분석실에서 보내온 서면입니다. 해당 블랙박스가 조작된 게 아니라는 내용이
I don't care how much money I'd be paid, I would not be doing her job of protecting someone like that. I'm sorry, but... Well, I'm not sorry, because this is ridiculous.
경고했지. 이 자리에서 거짓 진술하면 큰일 난다고.
She almost probably thought this could be the case as well. She knew she had that. She probably played this case into his hands.
비로소
And you're not dealing with the same judge as last time.
서동균, 오경수를 만류했고 사건 현장엔 출입조차 하지 않았다는 황인준의 진술 거짓임이 증명됐습니다. 그러므로 황인준의 모든 진술들은 사실이 아닐 수도 있다는 가능성 영상에서 확인된 바와 같이 공사장 안으로 들어간 황인준 역시 이 사건의 공범일 수 있다는 가능성이 제기됐으므로 지금 이 시간부로 황인준은 추가 조사 및 심리를 위해
Yeah,
소년분류 심사원으로 보냅니다.
yeah. Now you're a little bit nervous, aren't you? Because it's not one of them speedy cases that he's been able to get through multiple times, and maybe multiple times of him not even being registered for a court case again. He could have just got away with it and no one Because you've got to imagine as well, in some cases, if they're getting taken advantage over, girls there probably wouldn't go past threatening them to even say or bring up the fact that they got sexually assaulted. So some of them might not come out and say what happened. It's horrible to think again how much they've possibly done and how many people there's hurt, again with going back to the impact on them and their lives, short, long terms, and that. It's just, again, it's hard to put a time on this. I am intrigued to see the punishment.
네, 소년 형사비입니다. 네, 그런데요.
But it's good so far that the judges obviously had to step in,
잠시만요. 확인하세요.
and she's extended the
올려 보내지 마세요.
investigation, which is major for something like this. Also thinking, the thing we do not want is her getting taken off the case due to the involvement she had previous with the other case for unfair reasons. That's the worst case, because then there's a possibility of not working the same of how she would have done it.
그 5년 전 벽돌 투척 사건 당시에 황인준과 함께 있었던 그 소년, 그 백도연이요. 판사님,
너 내 문자 왜 무시하니? 내가 경고했지. 너 반드시 찾는다고. 숨는 게 다가 아니라고. 여기 법원입니다. 나가요. 나가서 얘기해요. 보면 몰라? 나 여기 깽판 치러 온 거야. 이혼했으면 그걸로 끝이지. 기껏 마음 다 잡은 내 아들 이제 와서 왜 자꾸 만나는 건데? 이래서 집에 사람을 잘 두게.
Even in a place like this where I'm like, yeah, I really do want her to deal with the case, because I think for obviously getting justice out of this case, she's the best chance for it to happen. But when you think about it again, it's poor from the system, the fact, again, she's on this case, because it should be something which they should be on and pretty up with, knowing that she has an involvement with one of the kids. It's just like her in this place shouldn't really be happening if it was the systems doing their checks right. But again, I'm happy for this, because again, she's the main judge in this, and the lead judge, and hopefully she can gather more evidence from the extended investigation and sort this out.
네 걱정은 날 비참하게 만들어.
And for her as well, he probably reminds her of the case, which she's probably locked up in her heart and doesn't want to come out and express that, and she wants to hide the fact of what happened to, I guess, in a sad way, what it is. It's just to carry on with life. It is very sad. It's her own son, very young age. And she wasn't there. She was inside the hall as well, doing her own case. It's just, I couldn't even imagine. And for her, she probably feels responsible when, again, it's nothing to do, it's not her fault, but she probably does herself feel responsible because she wasn't there, she wasn't beside her son. And again, the impact we see here is obviously they're not together anymore, and again, it's just, for me, it's like that. I feel like the judge was probably a completely different person to what she is now, and that impact it's had on her life. And it's been in a worse position of at that time not being able to do anything. Again, being a judge, you couldn't interfere with the case, and for something like that to again deem the person who was responsible not guilty and make them get away with the crime. It's even at whatever age they've killed someone, and it goes back to the other case which we had with the fact of how the wife and how she felt when there was no justice and no recognition of what happened to her husband and the impact it had on the kids, her own kids. And again, it's just something which it was a very difficult episode. Again, what we saw there was obviously the case was to do with sexual assault, and you saw I think it's just a bunch just evil people in a position where again you see them trying to take advantage of the system, knowing what maybe their maximum punishment will be in the position they're at. With what they had was the lack of evidence, which this judge, the main judge, and the one with the most connection to this case, has been able to gather more evidence, which again can maybe be something which could compete with this case and be something which again could lock them up, which is what we want to see in the end of the day. I think again, I don't really know again sentences and that, but you'd think they would get jail time 100%. It shouldn't be a question. It's just how long, I don't know. Again, there should be more. Again, I really hope it's not one of them things where we get a detention community service thing, because I don't think that's personally good enough. I think but again, that was episode 9, and again we have one last episode left, and again this will be the kind of climax of this case, which again it does really kick you into reality, seeing this and seeing obviously these cases obviously being true events. Like I've said, it's just God, it's just the stress. I'm getting stressed from viewing it, and just imagine the stress they go through. It's just, but yeah, that is episode 9 of the Juvenile Justice TV show. Tomorrow I will move on to the finale, and yeah, hopefully this gets sorted out. But yeah, I appreciate everyone for keeping along with this series so far. I appreciate obviously all the support which you're giving me on this series, and yeah, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers everyone, bye.